laptop tote doesn't have to be boring black. Choose your favorite fabric and make this adorable bag, complete with an expandable pocket for your charger, a removable strap, and an interior divider to hold a tablet or your Kindle. This tutorial is sponsored by allfreesewing.com. You'll need 3 laptop measurements. Measure the horizontal width across. Measure the vertical length, then measure the depth or how tall your laptop is. Here are the formulas for the pieces you'll need to cut. I'm using measurements for my MacBook Pro, but you can adjust for any laptop. Feel free to press pause to write these measurements down. Begin by making the interior divider. Layer the divider pieces together and pin bias tape along the long top edge. I use narrow bias tape because it was all I had on hand at the moment, but you can use your quilter's bias tape for this. Next, we'll make the expanding outer pocket. Fold in the raw edges a 1/2 inch and press. Then fold in another 1/2 inch to encase the raw edge. Press, pin, and sew. With the pocket fabric face down, fold the short ends in 3 inches. Press. Then fold backward and in half, accordion style. Press in place. Pin the pocket to the outer fabric piece. Sew the sides, stitching through the bottom layer of the sides only. Then sew along the bottom edge of the pocket along the previous seam. Now we'll make the flap for the pocket. Your pocket flap pieces should be the same width as your completed pocket, plus 1 inch for seams. Make the flap tall enough that it will still cover the pocket even when it's expanded. Place the 2 flap pieces right sides together. Sew beginning an inch off center on one long side. Sew with a 1/2 inch seam and stop 2 inches before reaching your beginning stitches. Snip the corners, turn right side out, and press. Pin a hair elastic in the opening, and then top stitch around the flap. Pin the top of the flap to the panel above the pocket. Sew directly on top of the previous stitches to secure. Hand sew a large button to the outer layer of the pocket. Now we're ready to layer our fabrics together. First, lay the inner fabric face down, followed by a piece of flexible craft foam. Now add the outer pocket panel face up. Then it's the outer fabric face down, followed by a piece of craft foam. Now add the last inner fabric face up, and finally the divider panel. It's a good idea to switch to a heavyweight needle. Sew the sides and bottom with a 1/2 inch seam, leaving the top edge open. Then zigzag or serge the raw edges. Turn right side out and poke out the seams and corners. The seams will be fairly thick, but that's good because it will help protect your laptop. Add bias tape to the top raw edges of the tote. Now we'll make the strap piece. Fold the strap piece in half and press. Sew the raw sides with a 1/2 inch seam. Do not sew the ends. Press the seam open. Turn right side out. You can use tweezers if you'd like. Center the seam and press. Fold in the raw ends of the strap a 1/2 inch. Top stitch around the strap with a 1/4 inch seam. You can sew your strap directly to your bag, but I want mine to be removable so I can carry it in a backpack. So I'm sewing 2 D-rings to the interior sides of the bag right below the bias tape. Then I'm sewing Velcro tabs to the ends. Now we'll make the tote's outer flap. It should measure the interior width of your bag, plus 1 inch for seam. To figure the length, measure below the bias tape inside, down to 1/3 of the length of your bag. Add 1 inch for seams. Pin the flap pieces right sides together. Place a jar or can in the center of the fabric, about a 1/2 inch away from the bottom edge. Trace halfway around the can to make a scallop shape. Repeat until you have symmetrical scallops on both sides of the center one. Then add a hair elastic in the middle of the center scallop, pointing inward between the layers. I'm leaving mine hanging out to make it a bit shorter. Sew down the 2 short sides of the fabric with a 1/2 inch seam, and directly on top of the drawn scallops. Leave the top edge open. Trim the seam to a 1/2 inch and notch the curves so the scallops will lay flat. Turn right side out. Fold the raw top edges inward a 1/2 inch and press. Iron the whole flap. Top stitch around the entire flap following the curves of the scalloped edge. Insert the edge of the flap below the edge of the bias tape and pin. The flap should fold down to the side without the expanding pocket. Sew on top of the bias tape's previous stitches. Attach the strap using the Velcro. Sew on the button and you're done. This tutorial was sponsored by allfreesewing.com. For more project ideas and tutorials, visit www.MadeByMarzipan.com.